Whenever you're asked to find the effect of a variable in a regression model, there are 3 steps you should proceed through. First, set down the means of interest, then substitute in the regression model, and finally, simplify. In this example, we're being asked what's the effect of x1 in the following model, where the mean response as a function of x1 is modeled by beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x1 squared. Okay, so let's start with step 1. What are the means of interest? So we're interested in the effect of x1. So the definition of the effect is the change in mean response when the explanatory variable is increased by 1, keeping all other variables constant. So we're interested in the difference between two means. That captures the change in mean. So I'm going to fill in the contents in a second. I'm just going to write down now that I'm interested in the difference in two mean responses. And I'm going to increase x1 by 1 and then compare it to when x1 wasn't increased by 1. So if x1 just takes the value x1, then if I increase it by 1, it takes the value x1 plus 1. And then if there are any other variables in this model, I'd put them in here and they would be held constant, so they'd be the same on the left-hand side of the subtraction as on the right-hand side. In this case, there aren't any other variables. Okay, so I've set down the models of interest. Now I'm going to substitute in the regression model. So I want to substitute in the right-hand side of the regression model here. So wherever I see an x1 for this first term, I need to actually put in an x1 plus 1. So I'm going to have a beta 0 plus beta 1. Here's an x1, so I'm going to put instead x1 plus 1. And then there's a beta 2 times x1 squared. Again, instead of x1, I'm going to put x1 plus 1. And that whole thing gets squared. So that's my first mean. I'm interested in comparing that to the mean when x1 is just x1. So I'm going to plug in beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x1 squared. It's just a paren. Okay, so now I probably want to do some simplification just of this first sum. So let me multiply some of this out. This is the same as beta 0 plus, here I have a beta 1 times x1 plus a beta 1 times 1, so beta 1. Plus, I have an x1 plus 1 squared. Let me multiply that out first. I would get an x1 squared plus 2x1 plus 1. And all of that is multiplied by beta 2. And then I'm not going to change anything on this mean on the right hand side. So I still have beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x1 squared. And I'm going to go a little bit further. I'm also going to now multiply out this term. So I've got beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 1 plus beta 2 times x1 squared. That's the first term. Second term would give me a beta 2 times 2x1. And then the last term is just a plus beta 2. And again, I'm not changing anything in this second term. Beta 0 plus beta 1 x1 plus beta 2 x1 squared. Okay, now I'm going to do the subtraction. I have a beta 0 here and a beta 0 here. They're going to cancel each other out. I have a beta 1 x1 here and a beta 1 x1 here. They're also going to cancel each other out. Doesn't look like there's anything to cancel that beta 1. I've got a beta 2 x1 squared on the left hand side and a beta 2 x1 squared on the right hand side of the minus. They're going to cancel out. And there's nothing left, so I have, as a result of the subtraction, beta 1 plus beta 2 times 2x1 plus beta 2. I could simplify that a little bit further by gathering together my two beta 2's and write it as beta 1 plus beta 2 times 2x1 plus 1. So I'm finished at this point. I've found the effect of x1 in this model is beta 1 plus beta 2 times 2x1 plus 1. The fact that x1 still appears in my effect means that the change in mean response when my explanatory variable is increased by 1 depends on what that explanatory variable was to start with. Just as a little example of that, if x1 was 2 and I increased it by 1 up to 3, then the effect would be beta 1 plus beta 2, let me do what's inside the bracket first, so 2 times x1 is 4, plus 1 is 5, it would be 5 beta 2. But for instance, if x1 had started at the value 3 and increased to the value 4, then the effect would be beta 1 plus, if x1 was 3, that would give me 2 times 3 is 6, plus 1 is 7, 7 times beta 2. So you can see the effect here would be different depending on where x1 started, even though in both cases I'm just increasing it by 1.